Aurora here, and in this session I'll be showing you how to make a simple and delicious no-bake cheesecake. My favourite thing about this cheesecake is that it's so easy to make with just a couple of ingredients, and it takes a couple of hours to freeze so it can be ready fairly quickly. There's also no chance of leaving it in the oven and not being able to eat it because you've burnt it, which I have been known to do. So we're going to start by preparing the crust of the cheesecake. So we're going to take our biscuits and we're going to put them into a food bag. Now it's very important that this food bag can be closed, so we'll give it a good tie there. We're going to take our rolling pin and then we're going to take all of our life's frustrations out on these biscuits. So if we give all those a good smacking. Like I said, at this point it is very important that your bag is closed so that you're not engulfed in a cloud of crumbs. They're not all over the floor, that sort of thing, you know. We like to leave the last job to do to ease the cheesecake, not to be sweeping up all this extra mess that we've made. As you can see, I have bashed them into a fine dust, which is where we need them to be. So we're going to take our mixing bowl and we're simply going to pour the crumbs in there. So they're all in the bowl. We're going to take our melted butter, which is around 4 tablespoons. So what I did with this is I put it in the microwave just for a couple of seconds at a time and then gave it a stir just to make sure that it was all breaking down evenly and that there were no bits that were going to get burnt. So we're going to mix all of that together. So the idea is you want the butter to cover as many as the crumbs as possible to start forming that outer crust. So we'll take our cake tin and the grease-proof paper, which, as you can see, has been expertly cut. And we're going to start piling in this crust. So what you want to make sure at this point is that you're getting it in a good, even layer. So just using the back of a spoon, just make sure. Okay, as you can see, mostly flat in there. So this can now go into the freezer while we make the filling. Once your crust is in the freezer, we're going to make the filling. So what we need to do is another mixing bowl. Now we've got some mascarpone. We've got some of that you'll find in the resource list. And what we're going to do is we're going to take it and open it. And we're going to put that into our mixing bowl. So I'm going to use a fork this time. I'm going to put it all into our mixing bowl. As you can see, it's very creamy, it's very thick. I find this is a good substitute for cream cheese because it's got a creamier texture and it's not as thick and heavy. Maybe that means you can enjoy more of it. I don't know, that's just how I go. Right, we'll give that a little mix just to break it up. We're also going to add around 1/4 of the sugar, the granulated sugar. So I'm just going to tip this in there. I'm just going to guesstimate how much 1/4 is. So as you can see, I'm just mixing it in there so that the sugar and the mascarpone mixes well, and you don't see the sugar on top of the cream. You see it as a combined thing there. Right, I would say that is quite combined. So we're just going to set this aside just for the moment. We're going to go back to our other mixing bowl. Now in this one, we're going to add the rest of the sugar, the granulated sugar, and the cream. We're going to tip that into the mixing bowl. Okay, now that we've got all that in there, we're going to add the rest of the sugar. So again, that can just be going in there, and we're going to give it a good mix to make sure that it is all combined. Again, you can use a hand blender for this. I find that they're super noisy, but they do get the job done a bit quicker. So we're mixing and mixing and making sure we've got that creamy texture, like so. As you can see, no sugar in there, that is visible, which is ideal. So this is where the science and the magic starts. So what we're going to start doing is we're going to start to slowly move the first mixture into the double cream mixture. So we're going to do this in thirds so that we don't just put it all in there and then ruin the texture. So we need to put it in piece by piece or bit by bit and make sure we really mix it in there, because our ultimate goal for this part is to start to create the soft peaks, which will give it that extra smooth texture. So we're going to take around 1/3 of this. So again, we're going to be mixing and mixing, making sure that you can't see a difference between the colours of the different mixtures, see any sugar in there. So at this point we should have somewhat of a yogurty consistency, which is good, so we will keep going. Next third in there. And again, making sure it's all mixed in. You might notice as well there's some air bubbles in there, but that's okay because we can resolve that once we're pouring it into the casing. Okay, so my estimation of what a third was didn't go so well, so I may need to do another section after this. Last bit all in. You may notice as well that it started to thicken. So the idea of this now is that we would like it to be creating soft peaks. As you can see, that is a good consistency. Okay, so all that's left to do is now fill our crust. So we're going to take our filling. Obviously this is going to be a little bit cold because it's been in the freezer. And we're just going to make sure we've got all of that. It doesn't matter if it gets a bit messy at this point because it will set once it's been back in the freezer a little while. So the plan is just to get all of that biscuit covered. There we go. And now we're going to take our jam. So similar to the butter, what I've done with this is I've put it in the microwave a couple of seconds at the time so that it's easy to spread. But obviously if it is very hot, leave it to cool down a little bit because we don't want any accidents. So what I'm going to do with this spatula is just spread it across the top in a thin layer. I've also got a feeling that I'm going to be sharing this with my 5-year-old as well, so probably less jam is better in my case. And there it is. So now this will go back into the freezer for another 3 hours. After that, leave it to sit out for about an hour on the side at room temperature or in the fridge. Drop your pictures in the comments and I'll show you the end result when it's done. Thanks for watching guys, and check out the programme for the rest of the events throughout this Freshers.